Okie dokie, here's a game that truly puts my Leela Patel deck to the test. I'm playing up against Astrobiotics. Of course, I didn't know it at the time, but yes, it is Astrobiotics, and it's going to be a tough cookie to crack. So, just a refresher, my deck is basically a Switchblade deck that uses Replicator to get all the silencers out early, and because I'm running Replicator, I also might as well use lots of other hardware such as prepaid voice pads and R&D interfaces. So my opening hand is weak. The supplier is there, which is always fantastic to see. However, I have no other economy in my hand and no breakers. Against what potentially might be an Astrobiotics deck, that would be a very bad idea. I cannot spend my turn after turn drawing cards and installing down a supplier. They are not going to be useful. So I had to mulligan here, and I get a much more burst-oriented deck for my mulligan, which is fantastic to see. So he opens with one piece of ice on HQ and nothing more. This is very suspicious, but this could be to my great advantage. So obviously the first thing I do is exploit his open R&D, but all I see is a Sense City Grid. So the next thing I do is to dig for cards. I find my Desperado, which will be very important this game because free credits, and because Nearfab is going to install a lot of remotes, I want to check the remotes, so I might as well have a Desperado out so that I can gain credits for doing so. In the meantime, he makes a huge mistake. He fast advances a breaking news, which causes him to lose his HQ ice, which means I get an account siphon off. This is a very huge mistake against Leela Patel, and he pays for it dearly. He's down to 2 credits, and just in case he's playing Scorched Earth variant, I get my tags out of the way. And also because I'm very resource reliant when it comes to economy, so yeah, that I basically had to do that. Also, I didn't want to get hit by close accounts. That would really hurt. So it's okay. I still have a lot of credits, and I can still place a lot of pressure on him because he chose to rest the E-line R&D, leaving his HQ wide open. So I got to see his fast track. So this pretty much confirms that he's playing Astrobiotics. Shouldn't have cleared the tags, but that's okay. I use my second express delivery, and I see another account siphon, which is very tempting, but I go for the R&D interface instead because Astrobiotic matchups are all about the card access. So I fetch the very key components, my Corroder into R&D interface, so that I can combo them both into a 2-card access next turn. If that works out and I do get an agenda, I can start bouncing cards off back into his HQ. So now he's in a very poor position, but he solidifies with the hedge fund that he drew. And he ices out R&D, which is a wise choice because that completely blocks my line of play, which was to contest R&D. So I had to draw up, gain a bit of credits, and I saw the inside job. So I'm looking to do that as my other option. Install R&D interface into an inside job onto R&D. Against Nearfab, I'm not expecting to contest remotes with inside job, so inside jobs can be freely spent on central servers to get random accesses. If I get lucky, I can bounce off key ice. Or Sense City Grids, that works as well. In the meantime, he gets a Jackson going and into a Sweet Week, so now he's pretty rich. That is cause for concern, but nothing much else I can do. I thought he discarded some cards into the archives with Jackson Howard. Turns out that's not the case. It's fine, I gain more credit anyway. The credits are quite important. As you can see here, I use my final express delivery to get a daily cast. Yes, my economy has definitely slowed down since the account siphon. That's a very huge problem with this deck. Economy is very hard to come by. I'm not really sure how to solve this. Security testing sounds like the best option. I think that will be what I'll switch up my deck such that it'll play off security testing instead. But for now, I run and see his daily business show. I plan to trash it, but I'll let him fire it off first by paying 2 credits. He's pretty rich now, but if he reses a Sensen, he'll be pretty poor. So I want him to res the daily business show before I trash it. No point spending 4 credits right now. And more importantly, I'm gearing up for my R&D interface inside job run. That is still on my mind, and I definitely want to do that ASAP. Because if I can knock down some of his HQ ice, this opens the path for me to play the emergency shutdown, which will deny him even more credits. That is my game plan. Oh, and there's also legwork. So I'm pretty sure that his hand is flooded with agendas. So if I can knock off some ice off HQ, legwork will do a lot of work for me. So he just keeps drawing out right now. So yes, he must be accumulating Astro scripts in his hand. He'll be dumping the NAPDs, so on and so forth. And he ISOs out archives. So yes, this and HQ, yes. So he's definitely he has definitely found a lot of agendas and he's stashing them both in R&D, HQ and archives. But they are too heavily iced, so I go for R&D instead. And he does deny me, or he does force me to break the Eli with my clicks by raising the Enigma outside. And I see two cards. Very unfortunately for me, neither of them were agendas. I really, really want to see an agenda there. If I could knock off one HQ ice, I would basically have denied him 1 click and 2 credits, which is huge against him because that would greatly slow down his tempo. I was really relying on that to work. With that fizzling out, I'm running out of options because I cannot get through the Enigma without spending my special order on the Gordian Blade. On the same token, I'm worried about running any other face-down ice. A single rotor turret ruins my day. Well, but he does the work for me because he spends his first Baltic labor to get the Astro script going. So, because good for him, he does get Astro script off, but great for me as well because this means one less ice to worry about on HQ. So I knew that I had to strike now because I'm pretty sure he has another Astro script in hand. So I immediately summoned up the Gordian Blade. I would not have made this move had it not been for him scoring the Astro script. But now that he has scored it, I was forced to play aggressively and go for a blind legwork. Thankfully, he had no money or couldn't or didn't have the sentry that would stop me from prevent me from making a successful legwork. Unfortunately, my legwork turns up short. So yes, all he could rest was a pop-up window. So that tells me something. There's no rotor turret on HQ. It is safe to run there in the future. That is something worth noting because I still want to fire off the emergency shutdown in my hand. He only has 4 credits left. He has been unusually unlucky this game because he hasn't found his pack campaign or marked accounts. It's quite a pain for me to trash them. So, yeah. His economy is very poor. He was on 15 credits before the Baltic labor. He's now down to 5 credits. And he's about to go down to 0 credits because he's about to res the Lotus Field. So now he's poor. Of course, that denies me entry into the server, but that's completely fine. I've completely bankrupted him. And this gives me a bit of breathing room to draw up the card, which turns out to be Show Gamble, a much, much needed Show Gamble. Yeah. So notice I haven't been drawing too much this game. I've been way focused on running aggressively, which is what I really want to do. Alright, he passes a turnover, and of course I must run his remote servers. I cannot afford to let him sneak a bill buy or anything like that. And at worst for me, it's just clicking for credits by running, so it's fine. I have Desperado out. I find my second account Siphon, and that is exactly what I wanted to see. Knowing that he has no way to punish me for siphoning him, I'm just going to step all his credits away, and then emergency shut down his Lotus Field and trash his pet campaign. Credit denial is now my only way to slow him down. Otherwise, he'll just fast-track Baltic labor the rest of his Astro scripts out. And I take advantage of this scoring window. Because he has no credits to rest the outermost R&D ice, I'm going to access his server, but turns up short once again. This is very unfortunate for me. I've accessed so many cards, and I'm still on 0 agenda points. I could really, really use a ice knock. I want to knock his R&D ice out because once he has 4 or more credits, he has the potential to rest Architect and Rotor Turret, both of which I do not want to see. And yes, that R&D ice could be it. So now he's on 2 credits. I'm pretty sure he cannot rest that R&D ice, so I can go straight through for 5 credits. Very expensive. And what do I get? A wraparound and a Sand. Very, very, very bad luck. I have nothing to say. And I'm actually kind of R&D locking him right now because he's using Daily Business Show. So every single turn, he's drawing the 2 cards that I access. But as it turns out, because of his remote server installations, he gains his ID ability, which allows him to draw fresh cards. And in between the cards which I saw off R&D, he manages to find an Astro script and snuck it out. So that really pissed me off. As a result, I knocked off his R&D ice. So here I have a sneaky plan. Since he still doesn't have credits to res anything, I'm going to run through his HQ I see a fast track, that's not important. The important thing is I can de-res his Eli, which has been causing me so much pain. 4 credits per run is not cheap. And I managed the run and see an Astro script, much needed, and an NAPD. After debating for a while, I decided not to res it. And the best thing of all, I knocked back his Eli into his hand. So from protecting his R&D server and taxing me 4 credits a run, that Eli is now in his hand after an emergency shutdown and an agenda score. So I'm in I'm in a pretty good position, even though he's on match points. As long as I can maintain R&D lock, he's not going anywhere. So yes, that is what I have going for me. In the meantime, he can install all the remote servers he wants. I'm just going to focus on R&D, make sure I get that 1 R&D run every turn. And he's still poor, so I can still afford to run. Notice that I'm already floating tags. At this point, it's all aggression for me. First up, a run, and this is probably the worst piece of ice he could throw at me for my sake. A pop-up window means that he can get rich faster, and yeah, that's very nasty. He then, I don't see anything of R&D once again because I'm that unlucky. Then I'll check archives. I was very certain that he was chucking NPDs in there. That turned out not to be the case. There was nothing there. So remember, I gave up an NAPD contract. I allowed him to draw it. It is still sitting in his hand somewhere. That I must keep in mind. So if I'm looking to win with the last agenda, I know where to look. But right now, I don't really want to steal it, especially since it will cost me 1 credit and it will give him 1 credit. You don't want that to happen. So he continues gaining credit slowly. His servers are very worn down right now, and I draw into the card I want to see, legwork. Just right. So I run in, he gains 1 credit, but he's still 1 credit short of resing the Lotus Field. As such, I get through. I still have 4 or more credits with me, and I see a fast track, architect, and that NAPD that he top decked. Of course, now I have to steal it. Otherwise, I have no more legworks left. This will be very hard to find. So I did decide to steal it. And now the important question, what do I bounce back to his hand? I chose to bounce back the pet campaign because I was worried about the cents on the table. He had 2 cents on the table if I remember correctly, and I cannot afford to trash them both. So I need to keep him as poor as I can for as long as I can. Unfortunately for me, he reses the daily business show, which was his ticket to victory. He saw 3 cards, and presumably, oh yes, and I did not check R&D that turn, so he easily finds a 3-2 agenda to win the game. Astrotrain is very hard. Leela Patel actually has a favorable matchup against Nerf Hub simply because MBN tends to require 4 agendas to win the game. So at the very least, your ability will trigger at least 3 times, if not more, the more agendas you steal. So yes, the knocking back of ice really cost him a lot, especially the first piece of ice, which allowed me a free account siphon. And yeah, he has to take that into account when scoring his agendas. He didn't this game. He was very aggressive with scoring agendas, so he gave me some opportunities to exploit weaknesses in his defenses. Unfortunately for me, the trouble is my deck is still too slow because I'm using Replicator and lots of hardware. I'm actually fairly lucky this game because I didn't draw into dead cards like Silencer, Prepaid Voice Pad, all of these I could never find the time to install. Even the supplier, it would have been a huge tempo hit to install it, and he could trash it since I went tag me anyway. So yeah, I had pretty much the best draw you could ask for. Trouble is, my deck just isn't cut out to deal with such a high top tier deck. So that's that. I might switch this up to involve security testing. That is a very powerful card in combination with Leela because when you bounce back ice, you open up space for you to security test. I'll be looking into that. Thanks for watching. Happy net running. Goodbye.